Welcome to another explainer. Look, if you're a focused learner trying to cut through the endless noise and get straight to the facts, you are absolutely in the right place today. We're going to completely bypass the usual consumer hype cycle around electric vehicles. Instead, we're looking at the real paradigm shift, the one happening just under the radar. We're talking about how massive commercial fleets and some frankly brilliant new grid technologies are quietly but very powerfully driving the true future of electrification. It's this massive shift from government mandates to pure, raw economics, and I really can't wait to share it with you. All right, let's jump right into today's roadmap. First up, a global EV reality check. Second, why fleets are choosing economics over mandates. Third, finding the deployment sweet spot. Fourth, the infrastructure puzzle. And finally, BSC, the grid savior. We're going to connect the dots from global passenger data right through to commercial trucking. Let's do this. So, let's kick things off with a massive number, 22 million. According to a recent Bloomberg NEF report, that is the projected global passenger EV sales figure for 2025. And you know what? That represents an energetic 25% jump from last year. So despite some of those doom and gloom headlines you might see suggesting the EV market is, stalling out or collapsing, the global data tells a very different story. The overall market is undeniably pushing forward, and that's largely driven by falling lithium-ion battery costs and a bunch of more affordable models hitting the streets. But when you peel back the layers on that global number, you really see a tale of two markets. On one hand, you've got China's absolute EV boom. They account for a staggering 69% of global EV sales this year. And crucially, this is key, it's the only country where EVs are on average actually cheaper to buy than comparable internal combustion engine vehicles. On the flip side, the US market is going through a bit of a recalibration right now. Thanks to shifting regulations and the phase out of certain tax credits, adoption is just a bit slower than people expected. Projections for US passenger EV adoption have actually dipped by about 14 million vehicles through 2030. But again, zooming out, while the US passenger market adjusts, the global momentum, it remains incredibly strong. So that wraps up Section 1, the global EV reality check. But to see the true pragmatic paradigm shift, we really need to pivot away from passenger cars and look at the commercial sector. I absolutely love this quote from John Harris, the CEO of Harbinger, when he was speaking at the ACT Expo. He said, "I think we're really rapidly transitioning to what you might think of as the third age of why people are buying EVs." And what he means there is that we've completely moved past that first stage, the one driven heavily by mandates and sustainability goals. We've moved past the early hype. We are now firmly planted in a pragmatic era. Companies are buying EVs for hardcore business reasons, total cost of operation, energy security, and better vehicle utilization. Which brings us to Section 2, fleets, where economics are winning out over mandates. This is where logistics giants like Amazon, who already operate over 30,000 electric delivery vehicles, by the way, and PepsiCo step in. They are the ones truly driving this third age. Now take a look at this. This right here is what the actual future of transportation looks like. It's not a sleek little sports car sitting in a suburban driveway. It's the heavy-duty zero-emission truck, or ZET. This is the absolute workhorse of global logistics. And let me tell you, when massive fleets evaluate a truck like this, they aren't treating it like a shiny new toy to look good on a corporate brochure. They are running incredibly complex financial models to see if it actually makes their business more efficient. And the ultimate deciding metric in all those models? It's TCO, or total cost of ownership. TCO is the upfront purchase price of the vehicle, plus literally all the ongoing costs of keeping it running, fuel, maintenance, you name it. So here's the absolute bottom line. Commercial fleets will only pull the trigger and buy an EV when the vehicle, the specific delivery route, and the charging strategy all lock together to make undeniable economic sense. The higher upfront cost of an electric truck absolutely must be offset by lower fuel and maintenance costs over its lifespan. And it's working. Amazon, for instance, has found that the TCO definitely makes sense, particularly because software-defined electric vehicles are proving to have just incredible uptime. They stay on the road, out of the repair shop, making money. Moving right along to Section 3, finding the sweet spot. Because let's be real, you can't just slap an electric truck onto any random route and expect the TCO to magically work out. Fleet operators have to be highly, highly strategic. Luckily, we have the latest deployment data from CalSTART for the first half of 2025, and it reveals exactly where these sweet spots are. Look at yard tractors. Those are the trucks moving trailers around distribution centers. Their deployments are up 36% year over year. Medium-duty trucks just had their highest 6-month deployment ever at 311. Now, you will probably notice that massive 49% drop in cargo vans, but honestly, don't let that fool you. Cargo vans already make up roughly 88% of the zero-emission market. They saw massive early adoption, so natural market fluctuations or brief manufacturing pauses can make that overall percentage take a temporary dive. The real takeaway here, it's the consistent, record-breaking growth in the heavier, much more complex truck segments. But it's not just the type of vehicle, it's the routes. Fleets are finding incredible success in very specific regional runs. We're talking 300 to 400-mile out and back trips. Think Chicago to Indianapolis or Houston to San Antonio. Why these specific routes? Because they are an absolute goldmine for EV economics. They're predictable, and the mileage perfectly matches current battery capabilities. By running electric trucks on these specific corridors, fleets are seeing jaw-dropping fuel cost reductions. We're talking savings of up to $45,000 annually per truck. To put that in perspective, at that rate, an electric truck reaches total cost parity with a diesel truck in just 3 years. And that's even without government incentives. That is huge. All right, let's turn to Section 4, the charging infrastructure puzzle. Because just like any good story about a major technological shift, there's an antagonist. And in the world of commercial EV fleets, the bad guy isn't the battery tech, it's the electrical grid. It is literally the multi-billion-dollar question. Can the grid actually handle this? Right now, grid infrastructure constraints are arguably the single biggest barrier to large-scale fleet rollouts. Think about it. A massive logistics depot with dozens of heavy-duty chargers requires a staggering amount of power. Utilities are really struggling to provide new grid connections fast enough. On top of that, the cost of public fast charging is spiking, sometimes pushing the cost per mile above that of traditional diesel. And if trucks can't charge reliably and cheaply, fleets lose money. It's really that simple. But here is a totally wild, unexpected twist. The solution to this massive grid problem might actually be coming from a completely different industry, the artificial intelligence boom. By 2026, AI data centers are going to require a jaw-dropping $750 billion in capital expenditure. These centers need gigawatts of power, and that demand is practically forcing utility companies to figure out how to accelerate massive global grid upgrades. Like John Harris pointed out earlier, once utility companies figure out how to deploy that much power quickly to satisfy AI, the EV industry is just going to piggyback on that wave. It'll allow charging infrastructure to roll out so much faster than EV fleets could have ever pushed for on their own. Which perfectly sets up our final piece, Section 5, BESS, the grid savior. Because while we wait for those macro-level grid upgrades to happen, fleet operators still need an immediate, local solution to keep their trucks rolling right now, today. And that solution is BESS. So what is BESS? It stands for Battery Energy Storage Systems. Picture massive, high-capacity batteries installed right there at a commercial fleet's charging depot. They capture and hold electricity from the grid, or even from on-site solar panels, and then discharge it exactly when the fleet needs it. For depots that are desperate to electrify but keep hitting a wall with limited utility capacity from their local grid operator, this is the crucial missing link. And it creates this brilliant operational strategy. Companies like Grid Beyond are using BESS to basically turn fleet charging from a massive cost center into a revenue generator. It breaks down into 4 simple steps. First, the BESS stores up power from the grid during off-peak hours, like 3 a.m. when electricity is dirt cheap. Second, when the trucks get back during the day and plug in, right when utility rates are sky high, they charge straight from the BESS, totally bypassing those expensive peak tariffs. Third, this guarantees the trucks get charged reliably, completely buffering them against local grid strain or power outages. And fourth, if the BESS has excess energy stored up during the period of really high grid demand, the fleet can actually sell that power back to the grid for a profit. It is such an incredibly smart hack around our current infrastructure bottlenecks. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. During that ACT Expo panel, one expert threw out the idea that by 2035, seeing a traditional combustion engine delivery truck on the road might feel like a shocking anachronism, just something totally obsolete and out of place. And when you step back and look at how the sheer economics of TCO are driving these massive fleets, how the AI boom is inadvertently forcing the grid to upgrade, and how clever tech like BESS is solving local power issues today, you realize this isn't just a trend. Actually, scratch that. It's inevitable. The road ahead for electric transport is pragmatic, it's highly structured, and it's moving incredibly fast. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your eyes on this space and keep learning.